In honor of the one and only Joel Bitonio, welcome into the 75th edition of Cleveland Sports Realm. I'm back. It's been 3 weeks since I've been in the studio. Last week, I do want to get some housekeeping off rip. Wanted to thank Andrew Hody for being a phenomenal fill-in guest last week. Jerome and I worked with him a lot at 88.3 The Sting when we were in college. He's formerly of 92.3 The Fan. Still does a lot of work on 88.3, and he has his own show, Raw Takes, with Andrew Hody and company. Does a phenomenal job and did a phenomenal job last week. So I want to thank Hody for filling in. And then obviously the week prior we had missed just due to weather conditions, no power in the studio. So it's been 3 weeks since I've been on the show. So I'm happy to be back. And then alongside me, of course, is my loyal friend and co-host Jerome. Jerome, we are recording Wednesday evening. I believe it's the 15th
Tax
of
day.
April. Yeah, it's tax day. Tax day in the studio. How are we doing?
Doing good. I already got my return, so doing good. But anywho, yeah, it's good to have you back. And yeah, great job, Andrew. Thanks for filling in. And
yeah.
I heard some compliments from some different listeners and things that they were impressed with the way you filled in admirably for Kevin. So we want to thank you for that. We have a lot to get to tonight. This is a very, very busy tax day episode. I mean, we got to start with the Cavs, where they're going. Then we'll jump into the Guardians and the Juan Brito disaster game last night, which will ultimately, hopefully not cost them in the long run, but that remains to be seen. And then we'll finish up. We got to start talking a little bit about the NFL draft. As of now, that's Kevin's favorite thing. That's like somebody telling Kevin, he hears the words NFL draft. It's like somebody telling him they wrote him a $100 check. He gets so excited. And we are, as of now, going to have boots on the ground for the CSR and Pittsburgh for the draft.
With two friends of the show.
Yes.
Robbie Becker and Kyle Ernie.
And as of now, my aunt is graciously willing to house all of us so we don't have to pay the exorbitant hotel prices. So that's wonderful. That's the plan as of now. But we'll see. Things always change, God willing. All right. God willing, we will be there. I think we can begin with the Cavs tonight. Now, I'm going to let you kind of sound off on the Cavs because you haven't got a chance to talk about the Cavs in a while. Andrew and I last week kind of gave our expectations and rundown. We thought at this time last week that we'd be having the ATL come on up north and play the Cavs. That's not going to happen now. Now we're going to go up north to the country of Canada, the province of Ontario, the city of Toronto, and we have another playoff series with the Raptors. There's definitely some playoff history here. Look, you go back to the LeBron second tour of duty, and there was a lot of that was when folks referred to the city of Toronto as LeBronto. LeBron is not here anymore. The Donovan Mitchell-led Cavs have never played the Raptors in the playoffs. So, with all that being said, Kevin, would you give us your State of the Union on the Cavs, where you're at, where your mind's going to Saturday at 1 o'clock as they begin, and we'll get into where they're beginning because it's going to upset a lot of you, I think. The Cavs aren't going to be on cable on Saturday. I know that's an old head take, but they're not. We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, so the Cavs, I mean, it's very much, I think, this postseason, I think, is going to be much like we've seen since basically that we've acquired Donovan Mitchell. I think it's going to be much of the same. I think it's going to be a very disappointing run for the Cavaliers. I think when it comes to the Toronto Raptors, though, I think they are going to get it done. I think the series is going to go a little bit longer than what our fan base is going to be expecting, though. You know, this is a team in the Cavs who seems like they've never been able to put out a fully healthy lineup. And obviously, ever since the James Harden trade, I believe their record with James Harden is, what was it, like 30-9 or something like that? It's a very good record with James Harden. He has made the team better. I just think when you face these teams in the playoffs, it becomes much more physical. And when we've seen the Cavs have to face or have to be more physical in the playoffs, they seem to get beaten down. You know, we saw that a couple years ago when they faced the Raptors, when they faced the Magic. It seemed like that was going into that series. We felt like that was going to be a 5-game series at max. And the Magic end up taking us to 7 and honestly blow the Cavs out in a few of those games. Last year you look back, and granted the Cavs were fighting injuries of their own, and Darius Garland's injury, who obviously is no longer part of the team, played a huge factor in that series, I think. And the Pacers went on a magical run. But that still doesn't excuse the fact that that's a team that you were expected to beat in 5, maybe 6 games, and you ended up losing in 5. It was a massive, massive upset at the time. And you fast forward to now, obviously we have James Harden, who's a guy who has, in every single season of his NBA career, he has been in the playoffs, been to the conference finals multiple times, been to the NBA finals once. Granted, he was a 6th man at the time. He's never actually carried a team to the NBA finals. He's come close, though. He's come to Game 7 of the finals against those 2017 or 2018 Warriors team, which, Jerome, I think you and I are in agreement was probably the best put-together team of all time. They came a game away from the NBA finals there. I think when you look at this Cavs team, it's hard to get excited knowing that in the second round, that has been their big bugaboo. That's been an area, and for Donovan Mitchell as well, going back to his Utah games or Utah days, that's been the big bugaboo with the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell in the post-LeBron era, is getting past that second round. I'm worried about it, and granted, if they get there, you're going to be facing the Detroit Pistons, a team that, or most likely we're assuming it would be the Detroit Pistons if you get past the Raptors. A team that doesn't have a ton of playoff experience. Obviously, Cade Cunningham, he's dealt with a mirage, it seems like the last month and a half with his health. And, obviously coming from an opposing fan standpoint, you want him to be healthy out there. You do. You want to be able to face the most healthy lineup to be able to say that you beat the best. Hopefully they get past the Pistons. If they do not get past the second round this year, I'm going to be at a loss for words, because it's one of those things that you made this James Harden move. You got 10 years older. Darius Garland was playing very, very well for the Los Angeles Clippers towards the end of the regular season as well. He really started to find his rhythm. If you make a lateral movement to get just slightly better and have the same exact result, I've heard the Chris Fedors of the world come out and say, well, it's okay if they don't get past the second round because they acquired James Harden halfway through the year and they'll have all of the offseason to make up for it. I don't know if you guys remember, James Harden's 36 years old. He's also going to be a year older, another year past his prime. It's not going to get any easier for this Cavs team, I promise you, next season. So if they don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, I think you got to look at blowing the entire organization up, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry for that monologue, but
no, that's what I wanted you to do. I invited it. Okay. I asked for it.
Okay.
I think they're at a point now where they do need to do that. They do need to get past. But I as a fan, if I take my wine and gold colored glasses off, I don't necessarily know that that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I want it to happen. I'll root like hell for it to happen. I don't know that it is going to happen, though. But I still won't go as far as to say the Harden deal was a failure, because here's my thoughts on that. The Garland-Mitchell thing was never going to work. Never, ever, ever, ever going to work. And that came to everybody's realization. The problem with that is the fans came to that realization years before the people who are paid millions of dollars to evaluate it came to that realization. It was never going to work. And when we sat here the night in this studio that James Harden got traded, we all agreed it was a failure and it wasn't going to work. So you had to try something different. So therefore, for me, just for the sheer fact you tried something different, I'll applaud it, because if they would have went in to the playoffs this year with Garland and Mitchell, you already know what's going to happen.
Second round exit.
With the Harden thing, there's potential for more. There's a better chance of more. And so for that, I'll applaud the trade, and I will have to give it its kudos. And even if they don't get past the second round, I still think it was the right move for the Cavs to do that deal.
Yeah, I think it increases. I think it definitely makes the team better. And we both said that at the time of the trade. We think it makes it better for the team in the short term. But I just think with Darius Garland being so young, like I said, 10 years younger than James Harden, you shortened your window exponentially with this deal. I think there were other deals that could have been out there. Let's say if Darius Garland got healthy and was putting up the numbers that he was putting up for the Clippers those last 15, 20 games of the regular season, that you could have gotten more than just a 36-year-old point guard that's past his prime. And granted, James Harden's a bigger guy. He's a better rebounder. He's more effective with the ball. His efficiency numbers have skyrocketed since he's become a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and his usage has gone down. So we're not seeing the ISO ball James Harden. The fit has actually been a very good fit in Cleveland. I just think with that team in Boston ahead of you, I don't think that move was one that catapulted you past the Celtics. Therefore, I think the window got shortened exponentially, and there was no real chance of this actually being a championship team in the grand scheme of things in these next 2 years.
Yeah, but so are you telling me that basically we already knew the Mitchell Garland thing was a failure? So at that point, the only way you keep Darius Garland is if you boot Donovan Mitchell out of town. I'm definitely not willing to do that.
Yeah, no. But when the original deal that was speculated with the James Harden-Garland swap, when it got first reported, was that the Cavs were looking for some draft compensation in return because of how young Garland was. And the rumors were, it might be James Harden and a late first-round pick or a future first for Darius Garland, which that I seem to understand a little bit more because you're getting so much older currently. Okay, we would need a younger asset at some point in the future in order to make up that time that we're losing. I just think, dude, right now, if you don't get past the second round, it's an absolute failure of a trade considering the age and honestly the status that Darius Garland is. You know, he's a guy who was an all-star, what was it, last season? In the middle of his prime, and he's got the toe injury, obviously, that he's been dealing with the last couple of years. But a guy who's in the middle of his prime, that's a two-time All-Star, you're getting that much older to potentially just lose, or to potentially just stay stagnant like you have been the last 2 years. I think it has to go down as a failure at that point.
I still won't call it one because you got to try something different. You got to try something new, and I don't care. The Cavs, and nor should the Cavs about future assets and all that hogwash and horse shit, because right now they're in a window. They have a very small window left to win.
Yep.
So you got to push. If you're sitting at the casino, you're pushing everything to the center of the table. That's what that move was. Yeah, sure, for the long-term health. Would it be nice to have Darius Garland? Yeah, great. No other guard could play with him though, because I don't see that working out. So I don't really. Maybe I'm looking at it too short-sighted. I can understand your long-term scope on this. But for me, I don't really give a shit about the long-term scope. Look at the NBA. On any given year, only half the teams give a shit about winning. It's why the ratings are down. It's why nobody really gives a shit anymore. Because you have so many teams that are looking at it like that, who are trying to look at, whoa, we could keep Darius Garland. No. Try to win some basketball games. And that's what the move was about for me. So therefore, no matter what the result is, if the Cavs lose in the second round, I still say, great job, Dan. Great job, Colby. You pushed your chips to the center of the table. It didn't work. And then, I agree with you on the blow it up part. I'm obviously at a completely different point of view from you on the trade. Fine. That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything on this show.
Hardly do.
It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the future right now. It matters about trying to win a championship with this current roster and structure in place, because again, that hourglass is dripping more and more sand, and the sand's picking up speed. And so therefore, please, it's about time you push your chips into the center of the table. We've been waiting for it since really probably since probably LeBron walked out the door 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I got to say, I wasn't opposed to trading Darius Garland. I was just I just didn't think you had to make that specific move if it was going to be so lateral. You know, we've always talked about trying to get more length in the backcourt, which they did with Harden, but it was more so of a defensive-minded player that could go up and get rebounds, much kind of like a Jalen Tyson, but not, if that makes sense. Just somebody who was younger, more athletic. I think there were other moves to be made, not necessarily this specific one. And when I say blow it up, I don't mean necessarily getting rid of Mitchell, getting rid of Harden, all that. I think it's one of those things where you're looking at, okay, are we finally going to end this Evan Mobley experiment? Because we're looking at, look at what the Milwaukee Bucks just did. They just got rid of Doc Rivers, which I think when they made that move a couple years ago, this seemed pretty much inevitable. It seems
the
like
most
wherever
overrated coach in the National Basketball Association's history is Doc Rivers. Carry on.
Yeah, no, he's up there because I mean the only championship he's won was the one where it was essentially the first big three that was assembled in our lifetime. Really, that Celtics big three.
Right.
So I think it's one of those things. At that point, you can look at the Milwaukee Bucks, who finished the season well below 500. I want to say they were 32-50. You look at them, it's like, hey, we've got this guy who we're still waiting on. It's been 5 years now. Maybe he makes the leap next year for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then we get Giannis, we have James Harden, we have Mitchell. Now it's a different big three. Maybe Allen's involved, maybe he's not. You still have Jalen Tyson potentially on the wing there. I think that's one of those moves. You have to look at doing something major. You have to look at doing something major this offseason if you're a second round exit.
Well, and to go back to the Darius Garland, I had said this the night that they traded for Harden. I almost called him Harland. The night they traded for James Harden, the biggest problem I have with them not trading Darius Garland is it should have been done years ago. They waited too long to do it.
I think you could also argue that they traded him too soon.
Please explain. I'm curious.
Because it seems like every time this fan base has wanted to trade him, it's been when his value is at its floor. Like we wanted to when we lost against the Celtics. It was, we got to get rid of Darius Garland. We'll be lucky to get 2 second-round picks for him. Like, what? Like, every time that Garland was going through something injury-wise, it was, we got to get rid of him. But then he would go out there and he would drop 38-8 or something like that. And it's like, okay, this guy was an all-star a year ago. This guy's a 2-time all-star. We should be able to get more for him. I genuinely have never seen somebody nationally or locally, their trade value go through such a roller coaster like it has with Darius Garland ever.
Well, my thing is, if you trade him 2 years earlier, then that's the foot injury, which I think absolutely tanked his value even worse.
Yeah, it did.
He's an undersized guard, so his value is always going to be probably more jaded and not nearly as good as a lot of his loyalists think it is.
Which it didn't used to be that way.
But that's true, but that's where we are now. And everybody's trade value is kind of tanked in general because you have a league where only half the teams give a shit about winning. That's a problem. And some of these teams, let's call it for what it is. Some of these teams that are in their horseshit play-in tournament, which we're not covering tonight because I can't cover it, because I'll be very honest with our listening audience. I didn't watch a second of it yesterday.
Yeah, I don't care about the play-in tournament.
I know that I think Charlotte won in double overtime only because I saw it on television this morning, and I believe Portland beat Phoenix. Let's call it for what it is. Charlotte had no intention of winning this year until they won too much, and their front office is probably pissed. Miami didn't care to win this year. Portland definitely didn't care to win this year. And Phoenix, they blew that shit to smithereens before and left Devin Booker stranded once again. So the NBA is in a problem because you already have too many teams make the playoffs. Then you add to it, and half these teams that make the play-in don't want to be there.
Yep.
So this leads me to a roundabout point of if over half of your teams don't want to win, then why are they going to try to move and acquire a Darius Garland type who's, I feel like, more probably at this point of his career, more a win now type of guy? His building block value is probably not what it once was because he's been in the league for a while. So that's where the NBA has an overarching problem, and I think it's gotten worse. So that leads me back to my point. If you trade him before when more teams cared to win basketball games and he didn't have this awful foot injury, which has really affected him for the better part of a calendar year over now, I think the value is maybe a little bit higher than having to give up draft compensation to offload his contract.
Are you saying they traded him too late in the sense of this season in particular, or are we talking about his career-wise?
I think his
years?
career general timeline.
Okay.
Because we talked at one point about Darius Garland netting the Cavs draft compensation, and in order to offload his max contract, which now looks like a terrible decision in retrospect to give him one. The Cavs had to give up draft compensation just to offload the damn guy.
Yeah, I mean, but they also obviously received James Harden. I mean, do you think the Cavs were targeting James Harden? Do you think the Clippers were targeting Darius Garland?
The Cavs were targeting James Harden, and the Clippers were like, "Yeah, well, we're probably not going to re-sign him." In typical James Harden fashion, we go back to the episode the night we traded for him. We went through the career odyssey of James Harden. He shows up, wins games for about a year, and by the next deadline, he's displeased and he's off to his next destination, which he handpicks and gets there.
Which is why I'm saying I think the Cavs had to give up draft compensations because they were the ones that are targeting James Harden.
But James Harden also, his next destination he so chose was us. Don't know why. So James Harden orchestrated the whole. He went to Lawrence Frank and said, "I want out. I want to go to Cleveland." Lawrence Frank. Then the way the league works is it's then his job to figure out how to get James Harden out and where he wants to go, and whatever the Cavs offer that you view as quote unquote fair. Like I don't think this deal had. This is just my perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think this deal had a damn thing to do with Darius Garland. I think this whole thing had to do with James Harden.
I think it slightly had to do with Darius Garland because I think the Cavs obviously had realized, to what we've been talking about, that, hey, this backcourt clearly is not working. We have to target somebody better. We have to get rid of Darius Garland in order to upgrade that position. I think it had... Okay, so you think it had more so to do with getting James Harden than it had to do with getting rid of Darius Garland?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. The Cavs were willing to offload Darius Garland to anybody who would take him. The Clippers said, "Hey, James doesn't want to be here. He's not going to re-sign here. We might as well take a point guard to fill the position for at least this year and maybe the future. We'll see how the injuries play out." It worked out well for the Clippers this year. I would love to know if the Clippers made Darius Garland available in trade talks, what he nets now. I still even think, even though he played good down the stretch, I don't think Darius Garland has much value at all around this league.
I think he nets you at least a first-round draft pick. He just dropped 41-8 in one of these last games of the season.
So. I don't think there's.
You don't think he gets a first-round pick?
No.
Think about the first-round picks in the NBA. I mean, Timothy Mozgov went for 2 first-round picks 10 years ago. I mean, we're going back a while, but
remember how I just talked about this. That was back when you had teams that wanted to win. Why is a team that has no interest in winning going to give up draft compensation for Darius Garland? Why? I don't see why they would do such a
team
thing.
That's not looking to win?
That's most of the league, though. That's the problem. So even when you talk about Mozgov going for first-round picks, that was 10 years ago.
No, I know.
The league has changed crazy amounts since then. Okay, that was back when you had a lot of teams that set out at the beginning of the year and said, we want to win. Now, you set out, and who won to win this year? We could probably count them on 2 hands. Who actually get, and the problem with that is we can count on 2 hands how many teams want to win, but we need all our fingers and toes to count on the teams that qualified for the postseason. That's the problem with the league.
Okay.
You have teams that have no interest in winning, so therefore, with all that being said, I don't think anybody's giving you a first round for Darius Garland. There's GMs right now who, if you gave them truth serum, are studying some kid who's 14 playing at IMG Academy, and they think that's their point guard, not Darius Garland.
You don't think if the Magic had the cap space, they would give up a first-round pick for Darius Garland? A team that obviously is so in over their heads right now, the Orlando Magic. They have given so much money to Desmond Bane. They're going to have to give a ton of money to Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, all these guys that if they could acquire a guy like Darius Garland, you don't think they would do it?
Nope.
Really?
I don't. I'm telling you, I think Garland's value is in the total toilet.
I think it's gone up since that deal, though.
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right, agree to disagree there.
Yeah. With all that being said,
I will. I mean, if you're a loyal listener, you know I've been a Darius Garland truther since the podcast dropped, though. So
yeah,
I could be biased with that, but
yeah, I think I think that for a while now, I'll be honest, I've been a Darius Garland oppositioner. I don't know if that's a word.
Hater, for lack of a better term. I know you don't hate Darius Garland, but yeah,
I wouldn't go as far as to call myself a Darius Garland hater, but I definitely have seen that it was never like. That's why when Kevin talks about people who are leading the bandwagon to trade him after the Celtics series, which of 2 years ago, in which Donovan Mitchell missed games, Jared Allen didn't play. Who else did? There were a lot of guys who were out for that series. I want to say Strus actually had a couple big games in that series.
Evan Mobley didn't show up until we were down 30 in that series.
Mobley did have a great game.
He had one of those games. I think it was in Boston.
The game we won.
Yeah, but game 2.
Yeah, he was outstanding. Yeah. I think since that series, like that would have been the time to trade him. And in hindsight, when I said that maybe get second round picks for him, and I told you they maybe get 2 or 3 of them, they should have just taken it at that time and done it, because that would have been the time to do it. Again, I went back and said the problem with the Cavaliers is they were the last people in town to realize that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell was a failure. The problem is the fans, who are not paid millions of dollars to do this, who don't get huge checks to do this, realized this was an utter disaster years ago. When the organization's the last people to realize it, that spells trouble. They waited way too long to offload them, and that's why they ended up having to do what they had to do. And essentially, like you said, they got James Harden and had to settle for a man who was 10 years older than him with a much more accomplished career, and that's why it ended up the way it did.
So for you, where do the Cavs finish this year, playoff-wise?
So this is what I think. Getting back to...
I've told you what I think they're going to be second-round exits again.
Getting back to this year's team, Andrew and I had discussed this last week. I think they're going to beat the Raptors. It's going to be in 6 games. I completely agree with your point. The people... The Cavs truthers out there, and I respect you and I respect your fandom, saying we're going to sweep them and it's just going to be LeBronto all over again. You guys, why don't you guys comment and let me know what kind of drug you're on, because you're out of your mind. It's going at least 5. I think it's going 6.
I think it's going at least 5 too. I think if it goes 6, granted, I'm predicting it's going to go 6 and the Cavs are going to win the series. I do think if it goes 6, I'm going to be disappointed, though. Like, I want this to be taken care of in 5 games.
I'll be fine if it's 6. Don't get me to a game 7 in the first round, so then you're worn out in the second round.
Yeah, but I think if you go 6 games, I think you have proven that you are not... My hopes... If you go 6 games, I'm not expecting an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. If you beat this team in 5 games, you can get me excited to potentially see an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. But I think if it goes 6, I'm going to start being pessimistic about how far this team can go.
Yeah, and let's talk about this too.
And the Raptors are a physical team, and that's been the Cavs' downfall the last 3 years.
And this also will go back to one of your favorite things, the draft. And you have Scotty Barnes versus Evan Mobley.
I'm looking forward to it.
Served up on a silver platter. There's a lot of people who view this as like kind of, Mobley's the better player, but there's also plenty of people out there who view this as Scotty Barnes is the better player. I think if you poll the general NBA American public,
I think it's 80-20 in favor of Mobley.
You're gonna get some Barnes opposition though.
Yep.
So this is a series in which Evan Mobley can be like, and I know I've used some foul language today. I'm gonna have to use it again here. Evan Mobley can be like, bitch, please, I'm the better player. And
well, I hope he does.
And that's what we need from Evan.
Yeah.
And let's call it for what it is. Evan played. I mentioned this on last week's show. Go back and listen. Evan played better down the stretch, and I think what we realized was Jared Allen missed a whole bunch of games. Everybody, including both of us at one point on this podcast, could not wait for J.A. to be shipped out of town. No, he doesn't fit here. Then the Cavs lose J.A. They go 3-8. But then on the other accord, the Cavs lose Mobley and they start losing more games. I know the records are better with it's actually better with without Mobley than it is without Allen. But I think what we learned, if you want to go big picture, is the Cavs need both those guys, and they need Evan Mobley to have that bitch please moment, essentially.
No, they absolutely do, and especially for where they were drafted, Mobley 1 pick ahead of Barnes. And what's funny is I actually, from the players that were left in that draft, I wanted Barnes over Mobley. I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Evan Mobley. I've never thought he was like a franchise-altering player. I've recognized the generational player that he is defensively, and I don't need to be a broken record with what I think that he is offensively. But I really want to see Evan Mobley actually be the Kevin Garnett that that I've been hearing about for 5 years now. Like, go out there and prove that you were the number 3 overall pick. You've got what, 4 or 5 inches on Scotty Barnes. You should be dominating him in the paint. You're almost 7 foot. You should be getting every rebound over that guy. I don't want to see like a guy like TJ McConnell was for the Pacers last year, dominating the boards against the Cavs. Like, Mobley and Allen have to have their footprint on this series in order for them to win this series in 5 games. Like, we want them to.
We want them to. We realistically know it's going to be 6. Okay, I actually, I think, like I said, I just don't know that they're going to be like, and people are like, people may not be all that familiar with the Raptors. Let me tell you, it's a completely different group.
Yep.
I don't know if there's one player from when we last played them in the playoffs that's left there.
No.
Because I'm going to name you
RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, obviously
quickly.
Scotty Barnes, like we were saying, quickly, Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah. Mamu Kalishvili.
Yeah.
Who's my guy from Seton Hall. So listen, so
Pirates.
you go and you take their top 5 scores. Ingram's been a star for years, I think. He didn't get to really be he didn't really get to be the guy kind of when he was, behind the ghost of Zion, and I say the ghost fully intentionally because he only plays 25 games a year or whatever.
Brandon Ingram was actually a guy that either this past offseason or the offseason prior, there were talk about who else we could have gotten for Garland. There were talks about them swapping contracts on teams.
That would be great. Didn't happen.
Well, yeah.
Then you go RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's going to be mentally in his mind being like, the Cavs are no problem. I beat the Cavs in the playoffs. He did.
Brunson did.
And he played.
He was on that team, but
he played damn good. RJ Barrett averaged 19.3. Scotty averaged 18.1. Another guy who came up big when the Cavs last played him in the playoffs. That's Emmanuel Quickly.
Which, by the way, for everybody thinking that like Evan Mobley's far and away better than Scotty Barnes, didn't they both average like 18 and 8 roughly?
So Scotty Barnes averaged 18 points and 7.5 rebounds. I'd have to pull the stats on Mobley.
I'll pull Mobley.
I'm pulling it right now. Mobley, if my phone will load here, Mobley averaged 18.2 and 9 rebounds a game. So
okay.
The points are about the same. The rebounds are a tick more.
Yeah.
And so with all that being said, Quickly and Barrett have beaten you in the playoffs, so mentally they have the edge there. And I also know that I was joking about it because I got my Seton Hall mention in. Mamu Kalishvili is a guy who could absolutely affect the game. Listen, he can make the threes from down. Why are you laughing?
Because you're smiling as you say it. You know what you're doing.
No, but I'm serious.
You got to give some praise to your Seton Hall guy. I get it.
No, he averaged 11.2 points a game. He can get physical in the paint. He's a hell of a rebounder, and he's the kind of guy who I think can get under Evan Mobley's skin in the paint because he's more physical than Evan Mobley.
A lot of players are, unfortunately.
Here's the problem. Evan Mobley, basketball gifted-wise, of course his athletic ability is significantly better than Sandro Mamukelashvili. But that's a guy who's going to knock down some threes, be involved in the offense, and can be a pain in the ass as a wing defender. And, oh, by the way, can be a pain in the ass in the post. And if he still rebounds like he did at Seton Hall, he's a hell of a threat on the boards.
I think the X factor in this series for the Cavs is going to be Jalen Tyson.
Yeah, because he's that kind of guy who can he can play that same role that Mamukelashvili can play for the Raptors. Stop laughing.
No, you're trying to say his name as often as you can. I know what you're doing right now. But, dude, no, this offseason we had said going into we wanted to see Jalen Tyson be the Josh Hart of this team. That's what we said in the offseason, and that's exactly what he's been.
Right.
He's honestly probably... I'm not going to say better because they've honestly been a little bit differently because Josh Hart was typically, 8 boards, 5 assists, whatever. But Jalen Tyson's been that physical player that has fought for some rebounds. He's made the right pass. He's hit the open three. He has been the exact person he's exactly what we wanted DeAndre Hunter to be when we traded for him last season.
Yeah.
That's exactly who he's been. And as long as he is that this postseason, he's going to be an X factor in this series.
And you just gave me a perfect transition, though, because we traded DeAndre Hunter because I think essentially Jalen Tyson made him completely expendable because the Cavs realized, hey, we don't have to trade. We didn't have to trade for what's already sitting here in our own backyard.
Well, and DeAndre Hunter, like the rumors were that he just did not want to be coming off the bench. And his role on this team, honestly, would have been great coming off the bench because Tyson fits so well with that starting lineup that, we would have loved to have a wing player that could have been ball dominant like DeAndre Hunter coming off the bench.
Yeah.
He's not willing to do it. Whatever. Let's go get Keon Ellis, who will give you 10 to 12 tough minutes a night. Let's go get the backup point guard that we were hoping Lonzo Ball would be. And Schroeder's been up and down this season. He been a downgrade from Ty Jerome last season. I'm not expecting him to be a major impact in this postseason, but he gives you a guy with playoff experience that's not going to turn the ball over, hopefully, who's going to make the smart plays. And the trade ended up being a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I hated it originally. I've come around to it, obviously, because it's been for the betterment of the team.
Well, exactly, and DeAndre Hunter, to your point, wasn't interested in the role the Cavs had carved out for him or designed for him. Good riddance. Go shoot as much as you want and run around with a garbage Sacramento team, and that's what the Cavs told him, essentially.
Yeah.
And to your point, Dennis Schroeder in the playoffs, though. Think about that Pistons team, because I think about watching the Pistons-Knicks first-round series last year, and by the way, the Detroit forced the Knicks to a 6-game series in the first round, and when you would watch that series, it wasn't Cade Cunningham or it wasn't, Jalen Duran, who everybody was huddling about. When the game got on the line in the fourth quarter, it was Dennis Schroeder rallying those guys.
Yeah.
He's got to do the same thing here in Cleveland this year, and I think he can. I think Dennis Schroeder is going to come up big. And just how I described how Mamukashvili could be a pain in the ass for the Raptors, Keon Ellis can play that role for the Cavaliers. He can be that pain in the ass.
I think he can too.
And here's the thing in the playoffs. You need your – we've seen this when the Cavs won the championship. Can't believe it. Decade ago already.
Yeah.
When you are in the playoffs, you need your stars to be stars. That goes without saying. So that's Mitchell, that's Harden, that's Evan Mobley.
Which, by the way, I trust Mitchell and Harden like – I don't even know the right word for it. I trust them without even thinking about it. Yeah, great. Yeah, I do.
So you need your stars to be stars. You need your defensive whizzes to be defensive whizzes. And you need your bench pain-in-the-ass guys that the other teams just dread when they're taking off the jumpsuits, checking in the game. Every good team needs a pain in the ass to ultimately win a championship.
I'm glad you just brought up the 2016 team, because you know who my comparison was for Keon Ellis when we traded for him, and that's exactly what he's been, and that's who I hope he is in the playoffs.
Iman Shumpert was a perfect pain in the ass.
No, he was a perfect pain in the ass. And going back to that Game 7, he hit a huge 4-point play that we still talk about a decade later. About his only play, it seems like, that I can even remember in that finals, but it was huge.
Yeah. You need a good pain in the ass. That's the bottom line. And so, therefore, I think the Cavs have theirs in Keon Ellis. However, Keon Ellis has never played in the postseason, so it remains to be seen. I could sit here and be optimistic, but I need to see him go out there, run around, cause a whole bunch of mischief for Toronto, and be a pain in the ass, and then I could get excited about it.
That's right.
But I'll be honest, as we sit here for now 38 minutes and 20 seconds, I'm getting myself more excited for the Cavaliers
I was just gonna say, coming into this episode, I was kind of like, the Cavs playoffs on Saturday. Like, yeah, I'm obviously gonna be watching. I'm gonna be excited, but like, I expect them to win the series. I'm not overly like going into that series, that playoff series in 2023 when it was Cavs versus New York. I was amped. I was pumped. I couldn't wait for that series. Going into this series, I'm like, yeah, whatever. As we're talking about it, I feel exactly like how you feel right now. Like, the more we talk about it, the more excited I'm getting. It's playoff basketball on Saturday, baby.
And here's the thing, though. I'm mad at myself though for it, because I sat here with Andrew last week and I'm like, I'm not gonna wear the wine and gold.
The episode's named after it. You're not gonna drink the wine and gold Kool-Aid.
I'm not, and I'm gonna temper myself. I'm excited for the series. I'm excited for the games. However, let me take off my wine and gold colored glasses and realize Cavs in 6.
Yeah,
they're not
Cavs
sweeping them.
Too.
They're not winning in a gentleman's sweep. It's gonna be Cavs in 6, but that will still get me excited. Let's see if we can get to this second round against the boys from the Motor City. Most likely. I mean, because when was the last time?
Do they take both at home?
I hope so. I sure as hell hope so because I'm going on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And I'm going to be, like, as amped as I'm getting right now, I'm going to be sitting there, man. I'm going to be listening to Ahmad Crump go crazy, getting the crowd going wild. They're probably going to give me some kind of wet rag to wave and some T-shirt to wear.
Can you please wear the T-shirt, by the way? I feel like the Cavs fans are the only fan base that doesn't wear the damn T-shirt.
Can I out myself? Usually they only go extra large. I'm a little bit bigger than that. The T-shirt don't normally fit.
What, are you going to be in the 200s?
Yeah.
It won't matter anyway. It won't matter on the TV anyway.
I haven't bought, well, we haven't, but yes, me and a friend of the show, I believe Phil Yan and my dad, and we don't know. We have a group going and down on Saturday. Yeah. Okay, we're excited. We're going to be there. We're going to be loud. We're going to be cheering. And I'm already getting excited to hear Ahmad say it's playoff.
Can I say something? And I don't want to be the party pooper here. I think they're going to drop game 1. Because it's been, like 10 days since they've actually played competitive Cavs basketball.
Yeah, they were trying. They did this the last 2 years, by the way. Sorry to derail you.
You're okay.
They tried to set up their matchup for who they wanted, and they tried to do it again this year, and they didn't get what they wanted. they absolutely
Well, no, they did. They did. They didn't get the exact team in the first round they wanted. They were literally trying to avoid the Celtics in round 2. That was this entire long play.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I was thinking more specific round by round basis. Yeah. They wanted the Hawks. They didn't get it.
I think they're
and
more.
Now you got a young, scrappy Raptors team who has confidence, and it's like, well, son of a bitch. You tried doing you. It goes back to my overall arching theme. I don't care what sport it is, what team it is. Can we just try to go back to winning games in sports? Like,
yeah, I think they overthink it. But also, like I said, yeah, they didn't get the first round matchup they wanted. But the whole reason they wanted the 4 seed was because the Celtics were going to be the 2 seed. They did not want to face the Celtics until the conference finals.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Saturday, especially because I will say this on the air. I went to only 2 Cavs regular season games for this year. Usually I go to 5 or 6. I don't go like I go to the Guardians where I'm down there all the time. I usually go to like 5 or 6 Cavs. I only went to 2 this year. I went once against the 76ers, and then I went once against the Pistons. They went 1-1. Kevin, I went to as many Cleveland Monsters games as I did Cavs games this year.
Yeah, this is the first time I have not gone. I did not go to a Cavs regular season game at all this year. I honestly feel like a bad fan for saying that. And I don't know why I didn't do. I mean, tickets were affordable. I just ended up not going. And honestly, dude, to back up your point, I went to as many Monsters games as I did Cavs games this year too.
Folks, you went to a goose egg for both.
Goose egg both. The Rocket Arena didn't see me a lot.
No, I went
or
to,
at all.
Not that we're going to spend a bunch of time on them, but I did go to the Monsters playoff clincher like 10 days ago. So
That's a big one to be at.
Yeah, it was fun, especially when you're in a suite for free. It was real fun.
Oh.
Shout out Cade Zielinski. He listens.
He's a Notre Dame fan. Go Irish.
Yeah, he listens to the podcast. Anyway, he hooked me up with the suite for the Monsters playoff clincher. But yeah, I went to one right at the beginning in November. Friend of the show, Pastorell, took me to his season tickets, and then I went. My dad, who I got him for Christmas. My brother, myself, my dad, and also friend of the show, Matt Pastorell, went to that one.
Yeah.
So I went to 2. They went 1-1. But I will be in the building on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Kind of lets the air out a little bit. I don't know. Playoff baseball doesn't, to me, let the air out when it's a day game, but like playoff basketball when it's a day game, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Playoff baseball is just different, man.
Yeah.
It's a different atmosphere.
I mean, I'm excited still. Actually, I am excited. Now let's talk about the NBA too. A lot of fans are local fans, probably a little bit older than me, but I come by it honestly. I'm an old head. A lot of fans are going to go on Saturday, and they're going to try to tune into the FanDuel Sports Network on their cable box. And they're going to find probably some fishing show. The Cavs are not going to be on the FanDuel Sports Network. Then you're going to try to go to ESPN. You're once again not going to find the Cavs game. Then you're going to try to go to ABC or TNT. The Cavs aren't on any of those. They're on Prime on Saturday.
It's horrible.
It's a pain in the ass, especially, fine, be on Prime is one thing, But here's where I'll give the NFL credit. When if the Browns are on Thursday Night Football and people don't have Prime, everybody can still watch the Browns game because the NFL lets a local channel pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's Channel 5 for the Browns. Same thing with the Guardians. When they're on Prime or one of these other things, that usually they let Channel 3 pick it up. The NBA has no such deal with any of our local channels here. So if you don't have Prime, you're SOL of the Cavs game unless you go on Saturday. And then, oh, by the way, Monday, you're going to be like, you're going to buy Prime just for the Cavs playoff game. That's not going to work either because Monday's only on Peacock. Then Wednesday goes back to Prime, and then for everybody who hasn't cut the cord yet, you'll go back on Game 4 will finally be on ESPN, and Game 5, 6, and 7's networks to be determined. Let me just say this. I know that there's a lot of our audience is probably around our age. You're like, oh, there goes Rome on one of his old guy rants. No, let's call it for what it is. If you're going to put it on the streaming service, at least allow channel, for Cleveland's sake, 3, 5, 8, or 19 to pick it up.
Yeah, 100%.
And the fact that they're not allowing any of them to pick it up, in my opinion, is out and out utter crock of crap.
I agree.
So
a lot of people are going to have to go to the bar to watch the game.
Yeah, and the good sports bars will probably pay to pick it up, but like your local watering holes, your holes in the wall, they're not. Maybe they'll buy Prime just to get extra business. I don't know.
You would think.
You would hope so. But yeah, if you're going to try to watch the Cavs on Saturday, unless you have Prime, there's no other alternative. Like Kevin said, you go to the bar or you go to the Rocket Arena.
That's it.
All right. I think we juiced ourselves up for the Cavs. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'm pumped for the Cavs on Saturday.
I cannot wait to hear Ahmad introduce that starting lineup on Saturday. The juices will be flowing. Yeah, I'm excited. All right, let's talk about the next door neighbors of the Cavs. We already talked about their live-in roommates, the Monsters. Now we're going to go next door to the neighbor's house. That's the Guardians. I will say I was very, 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 very pleased and excited with the first 10-game stretch. I talked about it. We gloated and we glazed the hell out of them, and rightly so, last week, because we had basically talked about the first handful of games, the 10 games in which you had 4 with the Mariners, 3 with the Dodgers, 3 with the Cubs, 3 with the Royals. You had won every series. Then you go on the road. You play Atlanta. You get pummeled on Friday. You shut them out on Saturday with Parker the Great on the mound. And then Sunday you get
smoked.
It's the debut on Channel 3, by the way. NBC, Sunday Night Baseball, and the game's over by the 4th inning. So then you go to St. Louis. St. Louis is projected by everybody who follows baseball to be a bad team this year. You win the first game easily. Good, cool, happy. That's what you should do. Then last night, you have the game in hand. And according to ESPN's win predictor, you're at a 99.9% chance to win it. And Cade Smith actually has a very clean, good-looking inning. He gets Jordan Walker, who's like the hottest hitter in baseball, to pop up. He gets a strikeout and a ground ball to second, in which Juan Brito makes a play that the kids that I see play in the community fields around here at 8 years old are making, and he can't make it. I'm going to be honest with you. I said that I would have patience with the Guard because everybody who listens to this podcast knows I got no patience for them when they mess up. I've been very honored my word in the sense that I said I would have patience with them this year. They rewarded me with that patience by winning the first 4 series of the year. They go to get smoked in Atlanta. Even that. Let's go the first 5 series of the year. They rewarded me, who's typically an impatient Guardians fan, with responding well, doing good things. Even you lose 2 out of 3 to Atlanta, I said, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to, go on the podcast and kill them for it. I'm now finally at a point for the first time this year I've lost my patience. You don't lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, all right? That is inexcusable, especially the way you lost. Fine. You lose on Tuesday. We'll talk about Juan Brito in a second because that's already a concern of mine. And I think we'll get to that in a second. But you got to bounce back and win the next day. They didn't do that today. I'm worried. Now you got the Orioles coming in. Let's call it for what it is. We sat here and laughed at the Minnesota Twins, laughed at them during our baseball preview show. All three of us. They're a line, and rightly so going into the year. Twins have responded. They're playing really good baseball. I mean, they're beating some good teams. They went to Toronto, took 2 or 3 from the Jays, come home, beat the Red Sox. Yeah, yada, yada. The end of the story. The Guardians go to St. Louis and lose 2 out of 3. I don't think I'd be as mad as if it's the way that they did it today and yesterday, because yesterday you have Juan Brito, again, a play the 8-year-olds at the community rec field are making, and then to pile on, then the 10th inning, you have the advantage when you're the road team and you got the Manfred man standing out there at second base and you don't do anything with it. And then they do exactly what they should. I don't blame Tim Herron for that. Angel Martinez on that play made a phenomenal throw.
Yeah, he did.
Where I get mad is then you come back today against Dustin May, a guy with a 9 ERA, and you lose 5-3. This is the first series this year. Like I said, I'm not angry, but first time this year they made me frustrated, which I have to give myself credit. Them being 10-9, 19 games in, and me not getting angry until 19 games in, it's pretty good for me.
Yeah, I would say it's good for you, but also, like I've said ad nauseum, specifically last year, like it's a long season, man. Like it's like when we were watching the game last night, granted you and I were in separate rooms as we're roommates, but we were texting and a huge group chat that we have with a lot of our baseball guys, and everyone's freaking out about, this is, we're going to look back on this in 100 games, in 140 games and say, this is why we missed the playoffs. Like, you guys realize there are going to be games that we win because of stupid errors like that by the other team. Like, this is how the baseball season goes. Like, I did not lose any sleep last night after that game. I'm to your chagrin, I didn't lose any games about us losing to an NL team in game 18 of a 162 game season. It sucked. But guess what? They played the next day. Okay, they lost. They play again tomorrow. They play the day after. They play the day after that. Like, oh my God. Like, it is half a percentage of the season, if that counts. This is not like us blowing like the game against the frickin' Jets in 2022 with under 2 minutes. The Browns, now I'm talking. Like, this is not that significant of a loss when you look back on it. Like, yeah, it sucked. They should have won the game. The ground ball that Juan Brito missed is inexcusable. It's cause for concern for the longevity. If he's going to be in the starting lineup for the foreseeable future, it is cause for concern, because we heard about him in Columbus not being a great fielder. We've seen it multiple times since he's been promoted. Not a great fielder. It is cause for concern. It is not cause to think that the season is coming to an end with 143 games to go. Well, that to me is on the verge of preposterous. Yeah, preposterous.
Yeah, no, it's
absolutely preposterous to be 143 games left in the season, and at the time they're 10-8, on pace for a 90 win season, and we're losing our minds over a Juan Brito fielding error, who, by the way, is probably not even going to be on the active roster in a month and a half. Like, let's all calm ourselves.
Well, here's where I already think ahead, right? I think, what if they miss the playoffs by 1 game? I'll think.
Oh, man, didn't they lose 6 or 7 prior to that?
But the way they lost,
sure, yeah, they're gonna. By the way, spoiler alert: they're gonna lose a few more games like that the remainder of the year, and it's gonna be more significant. It's gonna be against an AL team where it's gonna be more significant in the playoff standings.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna lose a game like that and it be that disappointing. Of course, you don't want to. You would rather it be against an NL team than an AL team. I'm really trying to look at the positive side of things here, because it is a long season. If you lose your mind over stupid games like this, thinking that the season's coming to an end, and you're posting on social media that all these players suck and we have 143 games left and there's no reason to watch anymore. The players are seeing that. They know there's no hope in the fan base. They don't even want to go out there and play for you. Try to find some positivity in a long season, in a season that they're still above 500, by the way. Like, this is not a game where they just dipped below 500 and they're losing well, they might be losing a little bit of momentum here, but momentum's going to pick up in the next few games. I guarantee it. They're probably, I'd be willing to bet that they win this Orioles season, or Orioles series, excuse me.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I think they're going to.
I think they split.
Okay.
Which
they're not
going to
go. They're not going to go 1-3 in this series. I'm telling you, they're not.
Which I'd be fine with. If they split, I'd be fine with that. Here's the cause for concern for me. And to your point, we did all along when you hear people who know way more about evaluating baseball talent from Baseball America, Baseball Prospectus, all that. You and I both, we're going to trust those people's opinion. I'm not watching the Lake County Captains or the Akron Rubber Ducks or the Clippers play every day. But all along, when I've been hearing about Juan Brito come through the system since we acquired him for Nolan Jones a handful of years ago, the one thing, the hit tool is always there. The double power's there. Even a little home run power. But the defense is shoddy. So now that I've heard that for so long, and I've seen the guy be in the bigs for a week, and I've seen 2 errors, that does give me some long-term cause for concern with Brito.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just think it just kills you to lose games like that because, and I know there's so many of them, but each one is precious. And when you have a game on a silver platter and you just piss it away like that, it does sting. And I will openly admit, for the first time this year last night, I went to bed angry at them.
Yeah.
Fine. I was like, okay, bounce back today, slate it, and then they lost today, and I was like, all right, that is a little cause for concern. Now, I need you to come back and play well this weekend. We'll see. You got a good Orioles lineup coming in here. Now, you're looking for positives. Let me go over a couple of them. Jose seems to be coming to form, but we talked about this last week on the podcast.
And they've done all of their winning basically without him.
If there was any person to not be concerned about, it was Jose. Let's talk about another positive. Angel Martinez hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to see. Manzardo's starting to concern me a little bit. It's been a while. I know he had an RBI single today, but if he's going to be your cleanup hitter, we need to see a little bit more from there.
100%.
Bo Naylor, oddly enough, has been hitting the ball hard and just finding people. If he can start finding some grass or some seats, that might be better.
Yep.
But right now, with his track record, I think you do got to be a little concerned about Bo. Rocchio, I think that's a positive right now. I'll go there.
Kwan's looked solid in center field for everybody's concerns of moving him from left to center.
Yes.
He's been great in center field.
I think Kwan's been good in center field.
Schneeman's been great everywhere, at the plate, in the field.
Schneeman, another guy who's hitting. And overall, I know it's a lot of the same cast of characters. I genuinely have more confidence on a day in and day out basis with the 2026 offense than I ever did with the 2025.
Of course. Which, by the way, that team last season, weren't they? Was it what? We were in game 90 something, or even in the 100s, and they went on a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Guys, it's so early in the season to be panicking right now.
No. And I will say this though, you can't bank on doing that again.
No, and I'm not saying that. I think that they're going to go on a 10-game losing streak and then make the playoffs. I'm just saying we have seen them at a worse point. Very, very recent.
Yeah.
They have a better offense. Granted, they don't have the best closer in baseball anymore, and I don't trust Cade Smith to be our longtime closer, or full-time closer, I should say. Granted, the blown save Tuesday night was not his fault.
No.
So, but again, like, there are way more positives with this team currently than there were last year.
I think there's a couple causes for concern, but I'll agree with you. The positives outweigh the negatives. All right. Anything else, Guardians?
I don't.
Not
that I have.
All right.
Outside of David Fry, who I wanted to be a full-time catcher for this team, I don't think he can be.
Yeah. Let's talk real quick on that. Angel did throw a perfect strike last night.
I thought he got him.
I did too, and then you just saw the ball slowly trickle away, and it was like your excitement got ripped out right from your heart.
I know.
I'll actually give Tim Herron credit. That's a tough situation when you come in with the Manfred man.
Yep.
And David Fry had a pass ball and then followed it up by not catching a strike from Angel from right field. That's tough to see. But I don't know that. I think Fry is fine to put back there 1 or 2 days a week, but him like being the 5-day-a-week catcher,
there's no way.
I'll give him credit. I'll give Bo credit in this regard. I think Bo Naylor is a better defender than we give him credit for in this city. And the reason why is because we put him head-to-head with one of the best defensive catchers in the game in Hedgie. And so I think we're always just looking for Bo to be Hedgie. But if you look at a lot of the other catchers around the league, like Bo Naylor is absolutely an above-average defender behind the dish. So anything else, like I said, overall the positives outweigh the negatives. Nothing else we got to get there.
Absolutely.
That's what we usually do here. We just kind of give our state of the week of the Guardians, and we'll continue to do so. But with all being said, 10-9, go get some games against the O's, boys. And if Mother Nature holds off tomorrow night, I will be at my first Guardians game tomorrow night. Shout out Robbie Becker. Thank you, sir.
Friend of the show.
For the tickets. All right, speaking of positives outweighing the negatives, the Browns... it's time.
What do you mean, speaking of positives outweighing the negatives, and then we transition to the Browns? It's typically the negatives outweighing the positives.
Yeah, there. I probably.
I know it was a funny transition though.
Yeah, it was a bad transition.
No, it wasn't bad. It was just funny.
Derek, cut that out. No, I'm just kidding. Leave it in there. Producer. What the hell? Anyway, the Browns are actually a week from when this drops tomorrow. Will be participating in Kevin's favorite sporting event of the year.
My favorite sporting event of the year. It is correct.
It's not on grass. It's not on hardwood. It's not on ice.
It's on a stage.
It's not on turf. It is on a stage with a man who's disliked all across America, hugging men much larger and stronger than him, and holding a jersey and going in front of 10,000 cameras.
Nothing beats it, man.
That is taking place a week from when this episode airs tomorrow.
And as you said, we'll have boots on the ground in Pittsburgh for it.
That's the plan. Yeah, I think we're gonna hopefully do that.
And we'll talk a lot of draft next week.
Yeah, so we're just dabble this week.
Yep.
Kevin, if you want to touch, because I have one golf thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
So if you would like to just talk about it a little bit, the Cowboys and the Browns stuff started coming out today.
Yes.
And it came out where there was enough smoke around it from enough insiders that I think there might be a little teeny fire. But
a little bit of a flame. They've just got to give some air and oxygen to it.
A little kindling around it.
Yep.
But this is your baby, man, the draft. So I divulged to you on this, so please.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of rumors surrounding the draft. It seems like I'll just speak from a broad sense, and then I'll narrow in on the Browns very quickly. But at number 2, I mean, obviously everybody knows Mendoza's going 1. At number 2, it seems like it's going to be Arvell Reese, but there's been a lot of smoke around David Bailey from Texas Tech going to 2 now, which could have Reese slide down the board, probably not past the Cardinals at 3. But I've also seen that there's a lot of smoke with the Cowboys right now, which seems like at many positions amongst the draft. I've seen there's rumors of them wanting to jump up to as high as 3 with the Cardinals to make sure they get their edge rusher. I've also seen that if Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles or both of them are available at 6, it seems like the Giants are going to be taking Styles or Downs from what I've been reading. So one of them seems to be likely to get to the Browns at 6. It seems like the Cowboys are hell-bent on getting one of those players. And the rumor that I've been seeing, and we touched on this like a month or 2 ago, it was a while ago. It was the same exact outline of the trade, where the Cowboys would give us 12 and 20, and we would give them 6 and 39, 39 being in the second round. So the Browns move up 19 picks from round 2 to round 1 to move back 6 picks in the first round. And that would be an interesting one for me. I think from the Browns' perspective, knowing that the blue-chip players in this class are so minimal, that there seems to be a drastic drop-off from like the top 6 players, I don't think I would be willing to give up the second-round pick in that scenario. I might give up my 3rd or my 4th-round pick, but I think at that point, you're dropping off from basically all the Ohio State blue chips. You're not going to get Reese, Styles, Downs, or Tate. You figure all of them are going to be gone between picks 6 and 12. I think it's such a steep drop-off, I wouldn't be willing to give up that second rounder. I've also seen that the Chiefs could potentially be trying to move up for one of the edge rushers available, one of them being Reuben Bain, which I saw there was a lot of. Did you hear the rumors about him?
No, I didn't.
I guess there was almost like a Laramie Tunsil type of report. I guess a couple of years ago, he was.
Reuben Bain likes the devil's lettuce?
No, way different. But I mean, a different scenario, but same idea of it being very close to the draft and a rumor coming out. I guess Reuben Bain was involved in an at-fault accident a couple of years ago that killed a lady.
Oh, boy.
So I guess teams have already been aware of it. But that seems to potentially affect his draft stock. But he was one of those blue chip players I was just alluding to. And the Chiefs have been known to get involved with players like that. Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice. They doubled down on Rashee
Xavier
Rice.
Worthy, wasn't he in a bunch of trouble?
Potential. I don't remember, but I'm not going to say that he wasn't. I don't remember him.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are like the Browns.
The Chiefs are known for it.
They like guys who have a little bit of legal issues.
Sure, yeah. So that wouldn't surprise me if they moved up to 6 to try to get Reuben Bain, knowing that the Commanders are going to be probably either trying for Jeremiah Love, or one of those edge rushers, one of the defensive players like a Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles if he's there, or Reuben Bain, like I just said. So there's a lot of talk amongst the top 10 teams in that range of a potential moving down. The Browns are involved in a lot of it, and the Cowboys are involved a lot in moving up. So as of right now, there seems to be a lot of activity, at least in the top 10 of the draft, that we could be looking towards next Thursday. But I feel like we always hear this, and then there doesn't seem to be a ton of movement on draft day. It seemed like last year was the opposite, where we heard that there wasn't going to be a lot of movement.
There was a ton.
And then the number 2 pick got moved immediately. Number 5 pick gets moved. There was a lot of movement last year, so it'll be interesting. The draft day is always fun.
So I'm pretty I've decided that the Browns, in my opinion, I'd like to go receiver and then lineman.
Yeah.
And I think I've been kind of on that same train for a while. I've piggybacked back and forth. The problem is, to me, for the Browns, every receiver, which is their most biggest position of need, bless you.
Thank you.
The problem is each receiver who I think they could potentially select in that spot, he's got a problem and a concern and a cloud over his head. So let's just go through them real quick. Carnell Tate, well, what's his concern? He's never been the number 1.
Neither was Ibuka.
That's true, but I'm just pointing out for Jalen Tyson. Oh, sorry, not Jalen. Jalen Tyson's brother, who's first
Jordan.
name. Thank you.
Injury concerns,
big concerns. The Mekhi Lemon,
personality issues, or
is slow as shit too.
Yeah, he's very much like a Jarvis Landry.
Yeah,
more quick than he is fast. And then there were the weird press conference interviews that he had in the draft combine.
Yeah, so each guy has an issue, and of course, the Browns need a receiver most and are in a good position to get one when there's a little gray cloud over all the receivers, because there is no A.J. Green in this draft. I know that's taking it a ways back. Mm-hmm. There is no, even longer, Julio Jones. Those guys don't exist this year. And who's another guy? There's no Amari Cooper in this draft.
Somebody who I'm actually huge on that's not projected to go high is that Tennessee receiver, Chris Brazell.
Okay.
He's 6'3", 6'4", I believe he ran a 4.3 40. Great jump ball receiver. Yeah, 4.3 740 now that I'm looking at it. Pretty decent route runner. A guy that's really gone under the radar. That'd be a guy I'd be looking at late first round, early second. He's projected to go mid to late second, but I think in this receiving class, I think he's a top 3 guy at receiver, honestly.
Okay, so that's interesting, because I feel like he would come into play if the Browns decided to go attack lineman first, then receiver.
Yeah.
With all this being said, though, are we pretty positive 8 days out of Roger Goodell announcing with the giant orange and brown helmet behind him? Are we pretty positive they're going to go receiver and lineman? I am pretty positive.
I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of reports now that they're so interested in moving down. And by the way, that would be my preferred thing for them this year. If they can get another first or even add a second rounder this year, or even a first in the future, that would be my preferred route. But I read that they really like Spencer Fano from Utah, who of course is a career right tackle, at least in college, who the Browns would try to transition to left tackle. Does that ring a bell for you?
Yeah. It does, and not a pretty one.
Not
either.
a pretty one at all. Jedrick Wills, who I was very high on. It's who I wanted them to draft that year. If the Browns do that again, I'm not gonna. I like Spencer Fano. I do. I think he's a very good tackle. I just think if you're gonna take a tackle from Utah, why not take the one that's a left tackle and been a left tackle his whole career, and done it very well, and you can get him later on in the draft, at least based off of where the projections are currently. You don't know that for sure. The draft's always kind of a crapshoot, honestly.
Well, here's the thing, and to your point of what we initially got on, and like Kevin said, the day before next week, we'll have much more to say, and I'm sure we'll get a bagillion rumors between now and then.
Yep.
What I would say, though, is I do want Carnell Tate or, the best of it, even, somebody at 6, a tackle. I've been very clear about that. However, I will go ahead and be open-minded to trading. If demented Jerry Jones at 80-some years old is willing to give you the moon, the stars, and the earth to move up, then I think you got to consider it, because you could take advantage of Jerry Jones not being, I don't know, quite frankly, good at his job anymore.
Can I tell you what my dream scenario would be in this draft?
Yeah,
and I want you to be open-minded to it, seriously. I would love, and I think it would make a boatload of sense for each side, quite honestly. More sense for the Browns than this other team, but the Cowboys moving up to 6. The Cowboys not moving up to 6, completely different. I think if the Cowboys would want to make a blockbuster trade, and the Browns have been adamant that they're not going to trade Miles, right? But the national media seems to think of all of these different things that the Browns have done with Miles' contract. There's some smoke around potentially him being traded. By the way, I don't think this trade will ever happen, but this is my dream scenario. The Browns trade Miles to Dallas, get picks 12, 20, and their first rounder next year. Maybe the Browns even have to throw in like a third or a fourth, whatever it is, in order to equal value. The Browns draft an edge rusher at 6. Maybe that's Reuben Bain. Maybe that's David Bailey, whoever's there. They draft their offensive tackle at 12. Let's say it's Spencer Fano, who we've read that they're very high on. At pick 20, they take Ty Simpson. Hold your breath. They take Ty Simpson at 20, and at 24, they take a Chris Brazzell or a Denzel Bott, some sort of receiver, and you still have that second rounder available. You've got 4 first-round picks this year. If Ty Simpson stinks, you still have 2 first-round picks next year to be able to get quarterback right. But at that point, you've replaced Miles. I'm not going to say it's a straight one-for-one swap, but you've gotten the young edge rusher to theoretically replace Myles Garrett. You've drafted your offensive tackle you want. You've taken the flyer on the quarterback that some people are high on, some aren't. And you've taken the receiver with a lot of upside and a Chris Brazzell potentially. And you still have that second rounder that you can do basically anything with. You can take another receiver. You can maybe take a cornerback if one falls. I'm very high on Jermod McCoy. I don't think he'll be there. I think he's cornerback 1 in this class. I'm just saying if he were to fall based off of his ACL issues, potentially maybe that's a play with one of those picks. I think that just opens up the Browns' flexibility for this year and beyond. And you don't have to be so tied down to the contracts that you currently have. You get younger. You have a year where you go out there and you see what your young talent can do, and maybe you get a veteran or 2 next offseason to build around that. That would be my dream scenario for the Browns.
I think if this was actually going to come to fruition, because Todd Monken's not young. He's 60. He wants to win now.
Sure.
If that's the case, and that's the vision that they had, I just can't buy it, because I don't think Todd Monken ever signs on the dotted line.
Which is fair. That's very fair.
I don't think, because obviously, like, think about this. The Browns sold, they've done it to a lot of guys since 1999. Let's not mistake that. The Browns sold Todd Monken some bill of goods that really has him believing, because he could have easily went with Harbaugh and been an offensive coordinator for the best rookie last year in Jackson Dart, who's already, with Shador's still a question mark. Deshaun, we don't have time to get into that tonight. We're already an hour 13. Listen, so the fact that Todd Monken did take this job and is so, it's, to me, there's got to be something else there other than there's only his opportunity to be a head coach, right? Like,
sure,
that definitely played a part of it. I'm not naive or dumb to that fact or blind to that fact. Like, yeah, guy who's been a successful lifelong offensive coordinator and offensive mind getting his first NFL job, sure, he's going to take it. But what else did the Browns sell him to be like, yeah, you're 60 a week after you sign this contract, but you want to win right now? I just can't see a scenario in which Todd Monken signs that contract that involves 95 not being out there for him on opening day.
I agree. And like I said, I don't think that trade happens.
Sure.
I don't. I just think that would be, and you make a great point with Monken, don't get me wrong. There's no way you're 60 years old, you sign the dotted line, and you trade arguably the franchise's best player since Jim Brown. Seriously. Yeah. There's no way that you do that. I'm just saying, I think for the timeline that's built, that would be what my preferred way would go. Not that I'm saying the Cowboys would do it or that the Browns would do it. I just think that would be a hypothetical that could be interesting. Now, I think if they stick and pick at 6, I think it's probably going to be Tate, if I were to guess. Knowing that Downs probably isn't on the board, everybody knows that that's who my preferred pick would be at 6, just because I do think he's the best player in the draft. Besides Mendoza, excuse me. I think Tate being the most realistic option is who I would want at 6, because I think he's the best receiver in the draft, and I think he has more of a shot to hit than any of the offensive linemen do in this draft. And he reminds me of Des Bryant, the way that he plays the game. I've seen that comparison before. I'm not going to say that I came up with that comparison, but I agree with that comparison. They got the same height. They run the same routes, or they run the same route tree, essentially. They both win at jump balls. They both don't drop the ball. Like, I think Carnell Tate being Des Bryant's a very fair comparison, and I'm okay with taking that at 6.
Absolutely. Especially a team that needs, some help in that area, in that position group.
Yep.
Can I just say, I haven't watched like a full one, but the clips I've seen on the online and on Twitter and that thus such, like, maybe it's just because we had watching paint dry step to the podium every day for the last 6 years. Like, the Monken press conferences, whether you like Todd, dislike Todd, I think the general word for them is a breath, or the general phrase would be a breath of fresh air and refreshing. Like, the guy's real and not robotic, and that's just nice to hear.
Yeah,
like,
no, 100%.
When they asked him about, why he missed the coach's photo, he goes, I was getting a bomb ass haircut. I don't really give a shit to be in it. Kevin Stefanski would never say that in a million years.
Yeah, but by the way, that's a horrible reason to miss that picture, man. I mean, there's a shot you're one and done. Yeah. Seriously, there's a shot that you're one and done, and you missed potentially your only chance to be in the NFL head coach's pick, which, by the way, is such a Browns thing to happen.
Yeah. And then the other one was like, they asked about Myles Garrett being here. He goes, from my understanding, he never comes. And they're like, well, are you mad? Are you going to hold it again? He goes, the thing's called voluntary, right? If he shows up, great. If he doesn't, he'll be out there putting big numbers up for us. Like, the guy's real. There's a sense of realism to him. And after 6 years of robotics, it's kind of nice to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree. Instead of the political answers we've been getting the last 5 years.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, 6 years.
Sure, yeah.
All right. We'll talk a lot about that next week. I do got to throw in the Masters. Yeah. Obviously. So last week, Hody wasn't a big golf guy who was filling in for Kevin. And so
unfortunately, neither am I.
But you watch a little bit here and there. So I had talked about, my pick to win, who was Justin Rose, who, if you're a golf fan, he bogeyed 11 and double bogeyed 12, and he was in the lead on Sunday, and it looked like Rory was starting to have a meltdown, and then things just completely flipped. So Justin Rose, I think also, he's 45. I think the back, everything started coming to play a little bit. He did finish tie for third. He did finish tie for third. I'm right. And Scheffler had a hell of a Sunday comeback, but he just didn't play well enough in the first 2 rounds. So I wanted to get that out there, and I wasn't rooting for it by any means. I was all in on Justin Rose, with the wallet too. And I congratulations though to Rory McIlroy. I mean, to win at that golf course, that prestigious of a tournament. People who do not watch somebody swing a golf club or play or swing a golf club themselves all year. They tune in for all 4 days of that tournament. It is the Super Bowl of golf. To me, it is absolutely my favorite sporting event of the year. So we both get our favorite sporting events in the same month every year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
April. They're just nothing alike. But anyway, congratulations to Rory, because there are only 4 people all time who have gone back to back at that place. I wasn't rooting for Rory. However, I give him his flowers. It looked like he was starting on one of his classic Rory meltdowns on Sunday, and he didn't let it happen. And he played a tremendous back 9 at Augusta National. And I know I've mentioned it twice now. The other 3 people, just for everybody's case, if you're curious, research. We put up time and effort into this thing. Don't worry. Mm-hmm. The other 3 people who have gone back to back, Tiger did in 01 and 02. Nick Faldo did in 91 and 92. And then, of course, Jack Nicklaus. So Rory only the 4th person ever. Huge time both the times he won. I mean, this year to go back to back down there, and then last year when we even had Kevin watching golf when he got his career Grand Slam. So one other thing, golf related, that was brought to my attention today that I think is kind of interesting was that Live Golf is on the verge of losing funding from the Saudi investment fund, putting the tour's future in doubt. When Live Golf was created, a lot of people were like, either point blank, I'm going to watch Live if you're a golf fan, or I'm sticking loyal to the PGA. I was a PGA loyalist, and for me, I feel a little bit of a sense of pride today for sticking with the PGA. Yeah. I watched like one Live event, and I was like, this is a crock of crap. I'm not interested. So they're going to pull the plug. There was a lot of discussion when Live came about, but Saudi Arabia does not want to sink cash into it anymore, and that's who funded all of it, and that's how those golfers, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Sergio Garcia, to name a few, Bryson DeChambeau, I mean, the list goes on and on. All those guys went to try to go get a bag at Live, and now that's all in doubt, and I think it'll be very interesting to when they all come crying back to the PGA. And you got to respect the guys who stuck it out on the PGA and didn't go for every last almighty dollar, because now Live's folding and the PGA proved to come out on top. So just a fun little tidbit there, obviously, to finish the podcast with some golf. Kevin, I think that is it for me. Do you have any other little tidbit you want to throw in?
Not that I can think of right now, man. No.
All right, so we have a full. That's why we went an hour, and busy time.
Yeah.
The Browns are drafting. The Guardians are making heirs. The Cavs are trying to avenge the demons of the second round. Lot of stuff going on. Coming off Masters Week. But we covered it all for you. So, and you can find all of this great coverage. I'm going to go ahead and call it great and gloat a little bit. We did a great job tonight.
It was a phenomenal episode, I would say.
You can find the last hour and 22 minutes available if you want to listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then if you want to watch it, there is a video option on Spotify too. And then also for those of you who do not subscribe to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's available for free on YouTube. So anybody can get the Cleveland Sports Realm. And then also we're available on X, Twitter X, Instagram, and TikTok for those of you into that sort of deal. And for Derek behind the scenes, making it all come together, never missed an episode, E75 for 75. For Kevin, for Jerome, we'll talk to everybody next week. Go Cavs, go Guards, Browns, get it right. Have a great night, everybody, and enjoy this episode tomorrow.
Go Cavs.